All for coming tonight to our candidates night. Thank you again to all the candidates for the different positions running either in state, county, or local elections. The next speaker will be James J. Gannon, who's running for Morris County Sheriff.
Good evening. My name is Jim Gannon, and I'm your Morris County Sheriff. First of all, I want to thank everyone for putting this on today and having everyone here. I think it's a wonderful thing. We've been here before during the primary, and I think it's great. You know, a lot of times in politics, people talk about the negative. You know, I see there's a lot of positive with regards to all of that. Certainly, being the Morris County Sheriff has been, finishing up my first term, it's been the honor of a lifetime. You know, I'm a career police officer, having been a police officer in neighboring town of Boonton Township and Boonton, and I was a career officer in the Morris County Prosecutor's Office, where I retired as Deputy Chief of Detectives there after 22 years. And I went on to the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force at the time, and then I went into private sector. And I ascended the ranks at Novartis, the drug company, to being the global head of security risk. So I really had great opportunity. That's really prepared me for the job as Morris County Sheriff. You know, about 36 years of experience, following the footsteps of my father, who was a New York City police detective. So, you know, here I am the sheriff for the last 3 years in Morris County, and my focus has been on keeping people and neighborhoods safe, which we should all do, right, with the local police department, with the county prosecutor's office, respecting the rule of law and the Constitution, and extending a hand of compassion to people in times of need. You know, I'll talk about it. We've seen a big drug problem throughout Morris County. I would suggest to you it's more of a pandemic than an epidemic. It's really affecting all people. So, you know, I learned a lot of those values as a beat cop walking the beat in Boonton, where you really were with people day in and day out, people who lived in the neighborhood, store owners, those types of things, and children. It's really served me well. Aside from being a dad, you know, I was with my daughter today and a pappy to a 3-year-old and a 12-week-old, 11-week-old girl. It's been the opportunity of a lifetime being your Morris County Sheriff. So you've probably seen in the news some of the things we've been doing in the Sheriff's Office. I think the biggest thing you've probably seen is Hope One. Hope One is a mobile access recovery vehicle that goes out into the community and helps people with mental health issues and addiction issues. We went out, we have a vehicle bringing services to people in the at-risk populations. You know, there's about 388 documented homeless in Morris County. We focus on people without support. So we've been out there. Never in my wildest dreams would I have believed that we would have been out about 350 times so far with mental health professionals, addiction specialists, and the sheriff's officers in civilian clothes. About 9,000 people have approached us and needed some information on opioid addiction and mental health. About 270 people have been direct placements for mental health programs or addiction programs from the street. This is cold call. If you're in sales, this is like cold call. You know, we've trained about 2,000 people in the use of Narcan. We can document 37 times where people have used that Narcan to bring people back, and there's a lot of stories out there with regards to it. Now Hope One is in Monmouth County, Cape May County, Burlington County. It's turning on in Jersey City and the big city of Newark, Hope One Newark. So it's out there in the community. It's a model that's being recognized in about 2 weeks out in Chicago, where we received first place in the private-public partnership from the International Association of Chiefs of Police, and the list goes on with addiction. RSVP, Responsible School Violence Prevention. You may have seen the Daily Record last week. There was a press conference with regards to an app we developed so that students and people could report suspicious behavior before something happened in schools. We've also taught curriculum in schools with mental health professionals, police officers, and educators to spot behavior that was potentially problematic, to return children to the chemistry class, return them back to the ball field. You know, that some children may be having some difficulties that we can assist before something goes bad. We've been spending a lot of time at our houses of worship in Morris County. There's 317 houses of worship. There's 34 for the Jewish people. And the Jewish people have been subjected to more terrorism and violence than any other group. And we spend a lot of time during the high holy days at synagogues, temples, or churches. Just some of the things that we're doing. But it's been a great opportunity over the last 3 years to be your Morris County Sheriff. I look forward to another 3 years. I look forward to your vote on November 5th. If anybody has any questions, come see me at the courthouse, or I'll be around for a little bit. Okay? God bless you. Thanks very much for your time.
Our next speaker is William Schievella.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience, for staying through some tremendous speakers, listening about ideas. Thank you for coming here tonight, on a night when everyone's busy, to hear about the future of your government. Thank you to Doug for live streaming it. I know firsthand the Rockaway YouTube channel has become quite the thing that we follow in our cars, going places. So, my name is Bill Schievella. I've lived here in your town for 20 years. Rockaway Township is my home. Rockaway Township is a wonderful place. I think we all agree on one thing. All of the people behind me, regardless of what party you're in, regardless of what office you're seeking. So I started my career 30 years ago at a very unglamorous position as a correction officer in a state prison, walking in a beat inside of cells with dangerous men and women. I left there and I became a New Jersey State Parole Officer, where I learned a lot about addiction, people in crisis, reintegration to the community. Sometimes people need a break. Sometimes people need to go into treatment. Sometimes people need to go back to jail because they present a risk to you. I left there and was invited to become the Deputy Chief of the Morris County Prosecutor's Office in 2007 by then Prosecutor Robert Bianchi. When I came to the Prosecutor's Office, we were able to transform it and make it a more modern organization. We cut a bloated command staff down in the 5 years that we were there, reducing the number of high-level investigative positions there and reinvesting the money in the bottom with assistant prosecutors to prosecute cases, detectives. We cut $4 million in operation budgets by limiting the amount of fuel that detectives used in the car. We created a community affairs unit that had never existed before to go out and ring everyone's doorbell, all of the faiths and communities in all the corners of Morris County that before had not seen the prosecutor's office until there was a time. We had the first, he's no longer with us, he was a dear friend, but we had the first critical infrastructure coordinator that created the system that we have now today, and where houses of worship and schools were evaluated for risk to make sure that they were safe against terrorists, against people who are here to do harm. In 2009, I became the Chief of Detectives in the Prosecutor's Office. After that, I had the honor of being the President of the Prosecutors Chiefs Association of all 21 counties, where I was able to be a part on a statewide level, moving the future of law enforcement. I was given the opportunity under former Sheriff Edward Rochford to serve as an undersheriff with your mayor, Mike Puzia. We were undersheriffs together. We led the day-to-day operations of the sheriff's office. Here in Rockaway Township, I served as a councilman. I was honored to be an at-large councilman, elected and re-elected. I was your Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator on 9/11. I was here in your municipal building, trying to figure out what to do with the school children from Picatinny Arsenal. That the Arsenal was locked down. They were in St. Clement's Church, my parish. I was the director of your police athletic league here in Rockaway Township, finding programs for children. So I'm not going to go on and on because you've heard from me before. I've been in your neighborhoods here for the summer, certainly, but 20 years. So what are we going to do, in my vision, in the sheriff's office? Well, one of the things is we're going to bring an evidence-based drug prevention program to stop children from becoming addicted to drugs before it happens. Rockaway Township is a success story. We brought LEAD, we worked with Rockaway Township, LEAD, Law Enforcement Against Drugs, to bring it here to stop children from using drugs. We're going to use retired police officers to be cost-effective, to provide non-law enforcement programs in the sheriff's office to save money. We're going to bring crisis intervention training. It's a very successful program that Bergen County, Passaic County, Essex County has that gives police officers more tools in their toolbox to deal with mentally ill people, to make decisions about people who are in crisis. As someone else said, we talked about millennials. Well, we're going to increase technology. We know that people like myself, we read newspapers, we go on websites. The younger generation, everything's on a phone app. We should have an app that not just to use in times of crisis, but an app to access everything in the sheriff's office. The next generation that comes, overwhelmingly, is governed by the iPhone. And that's just the generations to come. I'm not going to keep you anymore. I'll be here to answer your questions. I ask for your vote to be the honor of your next Morris County Sheriff, and I thank you for having me.
Next speaker is Michael Thompson.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Doug. So I'm Michael Thompson. I'm from Mendham Township. I'm a husband and father. I'm a trust and estates attorney. I've been for over 20 years. And I'm running this year for Morris County Surrogate. And when you're running for Morris County Surrogate, or Surrogate generally, part of what you do is explain what the surrogate is. The county surrogate is the constitutional office. There's one in each of the 21 counties, primarily responsible for the administration of estates. So when someone passes away, the will is brought to the surrogate's court and an executor is appointed. Where there is no will, an administrator is appointed. The surrogate's court also plays a role in adoptions, in contested estates, and the appointment of guardians. What I often say is that the surrogate is the office utilized by county residents on what might be one of the worst days of their lives. I've been a trust and estates attorney for over 20 years. I've helped over 500 families through the surrogate's court process in my career. I've drafted over 1,000 wills and trusts. I've drafted hundreds of special needs trusts to protect children and to protect seniors. I've been doing this work for over 20 years. So I've grown up in New Jersey. I'm a Jersey guy. But I was born in Alabama. I was born on the Army base, Redstone Arsenal. I was born in an Army hospital. My mom still has the receipt. My birth was $7.42. I was born in an Army hospital because my father joined the Army during Vietnam, and he served in Vietnam. And he joined not necessarily because he was gung-ho on the war. He joined because he wanted to have some control over his destiny. So he served in Vietnam and finished his tour in Alabama. My parents' experience in the 60s, in the Vietnam era, instilled in them a certain skepticism of government. My father was not, to quote the song of the time, he was not a fortunate son. He did not have the money to go to college and get a deferment, and he didn't have the money to have a doctor to write a letter to say he had bone spurs to get out of serving. My father wasn't a fortunate son, but I am. My parents' experience instilled in me that sense of skepticism, yes, but also a love of learning and a sense of compassion, which has served me well for 20 years as a trust and estates attorney, and will serve me well as your next surrogate. So I'm running for county surrogate this year, so that when you go through the doors of the surrogate's court on what may be one of the worst days of your life, you're going to know that the surrogate is well trained, is there for the right reasons. And that's what we should demand from our government at all levels, from local to Morristown to Trenton to Washington. And that's why I'm running, and that's why I'm asking for your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Next we have Heather Darling.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming out and for giving us the time. I really appreciate it. Pat, thank you for putting this together. Doug, I hope you don't mind if I move around a little bit up here. I want to tell you guys how I came to be standing before you tonight. So I've been a Morris County resident for 45 years, and I've been involved in community service for the last 30 years, since volunteering right after high school at Wellkind Rehabilitation Facility, which is now Kessler over in Chester. I currently live in Roxbury. I've been involved in the community there in community service for, again, 30 years. I've been on zoning, I've been on economic development, Rotary, Chamber of Commerce, in Unico with Mike Puzio and Bill Schievella, and Italian American Police Society of New Jersey with these gentlemen. So not only am I part of the Roxbury community, I'm part of your community through association as well. Many of you I've known for many years, and I'm proud to call you my neighbors and my friends. Community service brought me to running for the Freeholder Board. I'm currently one of your Morris County freeholders, and as you heard Freeholder Mastrangelo say, we've actually done a considerable amount, even in the short time that I've been there on the board. When I ran for Freeholder, I ran to continue my community service background, my community service record, and help the community, further the community that I grew up in, and better it, because I think we leave things better than we found it. That's what we're here to do. I had no idea that our current surrogate, John Pecoraro, would be retiring after 25 years in office, and he did. He announced his retirement, and I thought, this is a perfect fit, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my background now, and why I think that's the perfect fit for me. Because not only am I an attorney that practices general practice, including estates and trusts, for over 15 years, I'm a small business owner. I built that business from the ground up on the heels of my father's death when I was 32 years old. When I was 5, I lost my mom to melanoma. I was raised by one parent who was a senior by the time I was 10 years old. I made decisions at 20, at 27, and again at 32, that I wish on none of you. But the ones that I made at the time that I was 32 were because my father was in intensive care in Morristown Memorial. And it was after a surgery that should have ended his life or continued his life in a positive direction. He never expected, when he made the decision to undertake this voluntary procedure, he had two choices. It was voluntary, neither was good, but he never knew that he would spend 3 weeks in ICU, and I never knew the decisions that I would have to make. So there I was, no mom, no brothers, no sisters, doing this. After that, after 3 horrible weeks, I was in the surrogate's office. I had passed the bar. My passing results were in the mail when I came home from my father's funeral. So here I am with no experience in law, just a law degree and my bar results, and I'm probating an estate, and I did that in the Morris County Surrogate's office. So I've experienced it in a way as a practitioner and as a person who's been in some of the worst positions you ever want to find yourself in that office. So I know what it's like from both sides. I know what it needs, and I know how to make it better. We have millennials dealing with that office now, and that office deals in microfiche. We need to bring it current. You heard from the mayor talking about his son. We have kids with special needs. Their parents don't know that they need a guardianship when that kid becomes an adult, so that that parent can still advocate on that child's behalf. People don't know that this resource is there for them until it becomes a need and they go looking for it. As a freeholder, I have been out in the community every day, every night, not just while I'm running, but literally every day, every night, for approximately 5 years, even before I was running, speaking to people about the services that we have here in our community, in our county, that are available to you. I intend to do the same as the surrogate. People talk about going out to groups and what they're going to do. I've been talking to senior groups. Every time I talk to an organization in this county that deals with children with special needs, I talk to them about how, as surrogate, I can get in touch with the parents and let them know about the resources that are going to be available for them. This is an absolute passion, and destiny has brought me here, and I ask for your vote on November 5th for Heather Darling for Morris County Surrogate. Thank you.
Our next speaker is going to be Thomas Mastrangelo. Did I say it right?
You said it pretty well. I mean, I get a lot of variations, but that was one of the better ones. Thank you. Hello, everybody. How you doing? Good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving us a few minutes tonight. And I want to thank the organizers of this evening to actually see our system in progress here. So I want to thank you again. So I'm Tom Mastrangelo, Morris County Freeholder. I'm running for my 4th term as Freeholder. I come from Montville, New Jersey, married to my beautiful wife, Debbie. I have 3 beautiful children. I have a grandchild, Adriana, who's 3 months old. And as Jimmy knows what I'm going to say, my dog, Bentley. Since being on the board, and I'm running with, let me just say it, I'm running with my 2 running mates. This is the 3rd time we're running together, Doug Caban and Kathy DiFilippo. Both Kathy and Doug had engagements tonight that we're pre-committed to, so I'm here to represent the team and represent our record. We've taken a lot of time and effort over the last number of years to deliver good government to Morris County. And what that means as far as good government is keeping taxes in line. There are actually, and you'll see in the literature that I hand out this evening, there's actually 3 years of no tax increases, which started when I was director of the board. Now, that's great when there's no tax increases, but you still have to deliver the services. Well, guess what? We were able to deliver the services, and not only deliver the services on a consistent basis, as far as the level that the Morris County residents are used to receiving, we were able to deliver the services in regards to our roads, for instance. Over the last several years, we've been able to double the amount of roads that we had delivered. We used to deliver 17 miles a year. We're up to approximately 30 to 34 miles, depending on the year. From a law and public safety standpoint, you heard our sheriff. I'm the liaison for law and public safety, and I got to tell you, it's been quite a pleasure to work with Sheriff Jim Gannon. We've worked together on the initiatives that the sheriff has had the vision to implement, and to implement those services that he just described. There has to be a funding mechanism, and we were able to fund several of those services that the sheriff talked about. And the reason why we fund these things is because of quality of life. If you look at Morris County is number 1 of the top counties in the country to live, work, and raise a family. Number 2, it is in the top 43 counties in the United States as far as one of the best fiscally managed counties. There's 3,000 counties. There's only 43 counties who've earned the distinction of being the top fiscally managed, and we're in that upper tier. And to do that, us freeholders have to take our know-how. I'm a businessman. I've been a businessman all my life. Well, most of my life after college. But take our personal experience, take our know-how, and apply it to government, and to make government work better for the people. And as I say to everybody, I'm a taxpayer just like you. I have a job. I have a wife. You heard I have a dog, Bentley. Okay. I've got to go out and work every day. Okay. And I don't like taxes, but I like a good quality of life. And in order to do that, I've been able to work real hard to deliver that quality of life here in Morris County. If you look at, I mentioned roads and bridges before. We've got over 1,000 bridges and aqueducts in this county. And we've got a big county of 39 towns. Those aqueducts, those bridges have to be maintained. Our Health and Human Services, second to none. In 21 counties in this state, we have a great organization. It is the number 1 funded organization in services in Morris County. And you look at the pie of where the money's going, Human Services gets the larger chunk. Gets a pretty big chunk. Law and Public Safety, which includes the sheriff, includes the prosecutor's office, is the second largest receiver of tax dollars. So, we're here running again because we believe in what we're doing, and I'm here to ask for your vote for me, Doug, and Kathy, and we hope we see you on election day. And thank you.
Okay, I might murder another name. David Timpanaro?
Dead on.
Pretty good.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dave Timpanaro, and I am running for Morris County Freeholder. I want to thank you all for being here. Pat, thank you so much for putting this together and inviting us here to be able to come and speak to everybody. I really appreciate that. So I came from about 20 minutes down the road in Randolph, New Jersey. That's where I live right now with my beautiful and supportive wife and my 6-year-old son. And I say supportive because running for office is not an easy thing to do. Right? People typically run for office for a couple of different reasons. My reason is because it's time for somebody to step up to the plate, and I happen to be one of those people. And it's not an easy thing to be able to do, but it is when you look at the why, right? And where I grew up, I want to take you back a little bit to who I am, so you understand where I came from to what I want to do. So I didn't grow up I grew up in Hudson County, I grew up in Bayonne. And I grew up in public housing. My mom raised me. It was me, my 3 siblings, and my mom, 5 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. And they call them apartments, but you can hear your neighbors sneeze, say God bless you, and they also call them togetherness. But that's where I grew up, that's where I was at, and I learned a lot growing up at a young age, right? And growing up in public housing, you know, where I grew up, you learn things quick, you grow up quick, and what I learned is how to defend myself, how to protect my family, and also stand up for my community. So I've carried that on through my life, my upbringing. I've learned how to be the strongest man I am today by being raised by the strongest woman I know in my life, and that's my mom. And that's how I've become who I am today. And I want to share a little bit about that with you. So as I've grown up and I've come through life, I've taken those lessons with me. I've gone through, graduated from Rutgers University with a degree in psychology. I knew from about 12, 13 years old, probably adolescent age, that I wanted to work with children like me. I didn't know what it was called. I mean, I was 12. I was still getting in trouble and getting detention, right? But I knew I wanted to help kids like me. I just didn't know what it was called. So I followed my education. I followed my career all the way through. Got my degree from Rutgers University, got my master's degree from Chappell University, and I'm approximately 6 months away from being a doctor and having my PhD in multidisciplinary human services. And thank you. And but where I've come in my life to where I'm at today, you know, there's an old saying, you want to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That's what I've been taught, and that's what I've done my entire life. And I learned that, you know, I've got deep roots in my family, and I hold a lot of pride. My last name is Timpanaro, but my mom's maiden name is Donovan. And my uncle is Ray Donovan. Ray Donovan was the Secretary of Labor for Ronald Reagan. He was the first Secretary of Labor. And that runs deep in us to be able to pick yourselves up and do something with it. We were a 3rd generation growing up in that public housing building I grew up in. Ray Donovan grew up in the same public housing. My nana, my pop, was a World War II Purple Heart recipient. But we've worked our way through it. What I want to do right now, I've spent my entire career working with children with developmental disabilities, behavioral challenges, substance abuse issues, kids that have been in and out of the juvenile detention center. Because of the programs that I've worked with and have been a part of, we use a model called the wraparound model. In the state of New Jersey, I think 5 juvenile detention centers have closed over the course of the last couple of years, or last several years. In part because of the work we do in collaboration with the courts and the children's system of care. And that's the part of the system that I work with. What I want to do is be a voice for the people. I've spent my entire career, most of my life, giving a voice to those who have otherwise either been silenced or ignored. I'm tired of being one of those people. This puts me here in front of you. They say follow the money. I got a phone call about 2 years ago asking me to be part of the MAC committee in Randolph, New Jersey. I accepted. The next words disappointed me. What I was told on that phone call was, Dave, if you want to do anything in this town, you have to join the Randolph Republican Club. Now I got to tell you, maybe I'm naive, but I don't think any township should be run by any particular party. No township, not any county, and not any state. So I started to do a little bit of research, and I started to do just that, follow the money. See, I live on a county road. I live on Quaker Church Road. That road has not been paved since, I don't know, the 90s? Right? I spoke to the county engineer. We had it relined so that my family was no longer put in danger and the people that lived around that same intersection. And now they're going to supposedly repave the roads. Now here's the deal. I did this as a civilian. somebody, a resident, who lives in Morris County on a road that was bothered by a lot of things. My house rocks when these trucks pass me, right? But as a civilian, as a resident, I was able to connect with the county and have those lines repainted to help make that intersection somewhat safe. Imagine what I could do if I bring your voice as an actual freeholder. My goal is to do just that. I'm not interested in partisan politics. I'm not interested in gaining a contract in another municipality and collecting pension over pension over pension. I'm not going to take my freeholder minimal salary and then try to become a municipal something or other. I'm there to work for you. I work for children with disabilities and their families, and I'll continue to do that. I'm not looking for a payday and an engine. What I ask you to do is do your research, look who you vote for, look for our names on the ballot. My name is David Timpanaro. I'm running with Cary Parmigiani and Cary Amaro, and we look forward to your vote and serving you. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Cara Parmigiani.
Thank you so much, Pat. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's an honor and a privilege. My name is Cara Parmigiani, and yes, it is like the cheese. I have to tell you so you don't tell me. And since we're on the subject of dogs, my dog is Pesto Parmigiani, so yes, I was born and raised here in Morris County. I'm a third-generation small business owner. I'm married, and I have a 10-month-old baby girl that I don't put to sleep at night because I'm out here, because this is more important, because Morris County is important, and moving Morris County forward is important. I'm an attorney, and I represent people who don't have a voice. I'm a general practitioner, and I'm proud to represent everyday people, every day, with everyday problems, and really, that's what the Freeholder Board is about. I also represent children in court and patients in psychiatric facilities throughout the state of New Jersey, and I understand what mental health is like here. I understand what the drug and opioid addiction situation is like. I, as a law clerk, worked on drug court, and I continue to work with the Alumni Association and the Morris County Drug Court. I sit on an affordable housing committee in Mountain Lakes as a volunteer because I understand how important affordable housing here is in Morris County, and that 50% of people who live in Morris County don't even work in Morris County, and we can do more to change that. I'm all about making sure that our county residents are able to live, work, and play in Morris County. You heard from Freeholder Mastrangelo how they didn't increase taxes this year. But if you actually just even Google Morris County budget 2019, and I was at that meeting, I encourage you to go to meetings. It shows that their taxes actually, your county taxes went up $11 on average. And although that may not seem like much to you, it does go up every year. But you know what doesn't change is taxes. It not only is taxes, but also your infrastructure. You heard about paving the roads and improving bridges, and I've driven through most of this county, and I can attest to the fact there isn't very much change in that happening, but there's no plan for improving our traffic nightmare that's here in Morris County every single day. We have problems not only at the state level for the roads, but also your county level and your town level. And without your county level working together with your federal and your local level, things don't get done, and you sit in traffic, and things haven't improved. And I've lived here long enough to know that. I have been endorsed by the Transport Workers Union because they also feel strongly about the traffic infrastructure nightmare here in Morris County, and we want to do more than just talk about it. We want to actually move it forward, and paving isn't the only answer to doing that. You heard from Laura Fortgang how our VOTEC school turns away 2 out of every 3 applicants when college is so expensive right now, and the trade jobs are a great pathway towards development. And what you're going to find is as Morris County develops, is that we're going to be developing in 2 major ways, in technology and also in jobs that don't require a college degree. Now, when we're turning away students who can be educated in a way that doesn't require a college degree, we're shutting doors now for more of our residents. So not only is affordability a problem that shuts doors for people here in Morris County, but now also being qualified for jobs here in Morris County. Lake Hopatcong isn't an accident. It happened over time. We've had the same people in positions of power now in the Freeholder Board for 46 years, unbroken until Doug remained. And at times they talk about how they've reduced the deficit that they caused because they've been in power for 46 years. And again, we're here to change that. We're actually here to do more. And when the people of Lake Hopatcong came to the Freeholder Board and they said, the DEP isn't helping us, the EPA isn't helping us, if only we could get, and I was at that meeting myself, but I was sitting on the sideline and I could do nothing at the time. But when they came to complain, they didn't get help. And now, as you heard, it's $4 million to clean up because again, we're doing nothing. We have to do more here in Morris County to move everybody forward. And believe me, if this were getting done, I'd be at home with my baby girl, putting her to bed. But I'm not, I'm here with you. And so what I need from you is for you to come out to the polls this November 5th. My name is Cara Parmigiani, and I need you to vote for me and my team, Dave Timpanaro, Cary Amaro, and our sheriff candidate, Bill Schievella, and Michael Thompson, and all of your local candidates to try and do more in Morris County than talk about problems. Let's change them. Thank you.
Next speaker is Cary Amaro.
Hi everyone, my name is Cary Amaro and I'm running for a Morris County Freeholder. I've lived in Randolph for the past 15 years with my two wonderful children, and the reason why I have decided to run for Freeholder is essentially because of them. I've been a single mom for 21 years. I have my master's in accounting. I've worked as a controller for 13 years, and with the past presidential election and the treatment of women, the disrespecting of people, I couldn't let my kids I could not show my children that next lesson in life. You teach your children lessons throughout all stages of their life, and I could not let that lesson of standing up for people when they don't have a voice or they're being disrespected at the time in their life where they are learning to be young adults. I couldn't let that pass me by. I don't know if you guys remember when you were in your 20s, I know you do, I know I do, and I felt like I could take on the world. I felt like I could make a difference. And with everything that happened a few years ago, I saw my children kind of not know if that was really the case. And that's why I'm standing here in front of you today. I've worked in private industry for the most of my life, adult life. And I have looked at operational efficiencies. I have looked at controls. I have looked at integrity within management. I looked at proper costing, and that's what I want to bring to the Freeholder Board. I feel like that's what we lack. It's one thing to say that you have a budget that ties, but it's one thing to say that you use your money efficiently. We all know how it is to live on a budget. We all know what it is to say I have, let's say, $3,000 for a month of expenses. But you can either buy a Mercedes with that, and spend $800 for a car payment, or use that money for groceries, for your children's programs, for clothing, for things that make life worth living and fun. And that's what I'm looking to make sure that we're doing with our budget. There's a lot of things that are hidden in the Freeholder budget and for Morris County, and it's my job as a Freeholder and that 7-seat board team to look and make sure we find efficiencies for you. Because at the end of the day, we all here are for you. We all here should represent you and make sure that we have your back, because that is our job, and that's why we're standing here for you. Finally, on the Freeholder Board, not only is there a financial aspect to it, but there's also a human decency aspect to it. I've been to a few of the meetings, and quite frankly, I'm not impressed with the way that they treat constituents that go there to voice a concern. I feel like they're condescending, and I don't feel like people should be treated that way. I feel that people should have their voice heard, and that's what I feel that my wonderful slate, Cara Parmigiani and Dave Timpanaro, bring to the table along with myself. At one meeting that I went to, there was a gentleman he was 89 years old, he was a veteran, and he wasn't there to speak to the Freeholder Board. He was essentially, because I guess he'd been there multiple times, he was there to speak to us, the room. And he just wanted someone to hear him, someone to help him get help, someone to help him get help because he was having difficulties with getting an appointment. And I had to actually leave that Freeholder session and go home because my grandfather was in World War II. He was one of the 100 survivors of Burma. And if my grandfather was standing there and was treated that way, I would have had a huge issue. And that's why I'm running, because not only do we have to have fiscal responsibility, not only do we have to protect our elderly, we also have to protect our youth. We have a Voltec, my daughter is 25. She's graduated from Montclair State. She went to Voltec school. My son went to Randolph High School, and I know what the benefits of our high schools and what our Voltec schools and our state colleges and what we offer in New Jersey. And I ask every one of you, along with everyone else running here, to be accountable, to share knowledge, share resources, share what we can do as a group to reduce taxes. Because the fact of the matter is, everybody can talk about reducing taxes. We have to streamline costs. We have to say, okay, we have a Voltec school, we have a wonderful board, we have wonderful Board of Ed candidates all over the county. Why can't we share what the Voltec school does with our local schools? Why can't we communicate with each other? Why can't local government communicate with county government? Thank you. So that, one last thing and then I'll go. So that we can reduce costs and learn from each other and make our community all the better. Thank you.
The first candidate is BettyLou DeCroce. Unfortunately, she couldn't be with us, so she sent Aurora Dunn to give a little talk regarding BettyLou. Unfortunately, she couldn't come.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and little ladies and gentlemen. It's awesome that you're here on a school night. Be part of Civics 101, so kudos to you. And my name is Aura Dunn. I have an honor to speak for Assemblywoman BettyLou DeCroce, and I will be reading her statement. I'm not going to try to impersonate her voice or anything like that, so I do apologize as I be reading through, but hopefully it's what her passion is what comes through in this letter. My name is Aura Dunn. I'm honored to be here. Assemblywoman DeCroce apologizes. She was unable to attend for a previous commitment that she was unable to get out of. Thank you, everyone, for making tonight possible. I truly regret not being able to deliver these remarks in person. It is an honor to serve the people of Morris, Essex, and Passaic counties as your Assemblywoman. While we are certainly a diverse community in New Jersey, we all share many of the basic concerns about the quality of life we want to maintain and achieve. We want quality schools. We want our children to develop into successful and responsible adults. We want a clean environment, and we want to find solutions to the financial pressures we all face. New Jersey has become increasingly unaffordable. Taxes keep rising, and we all struggle to keep our friends and families together as we live and work in the state. As your Assemblywoman, I have been fighting to make New Jersey more affordable, and I have earned a strong reputation for working in a bipartisan manner. A good idea is a good idea, whether it comes from someone who carries the label of Republican, Democrat, or Independent. I have never let party politics stop me from doing my job, representing your concerns in Trenton. That is why my re-election has been endorsed by such diverse groups as the small business owners of the National Federation of Independent Business, the working men and women at Local 825, the International Union of Engineers, our teachers at the New Jersey Education Association, and the brave law enforcement officers at the New Jersey Policemen's Benevolent Association. They know that in this polarized political atmosphere, I have not lost sight of what is important in New Jersey. For example, Before the recent vaping deaths that garnered national attention this past summer, I introduced legislation to further protect our children from electronic smoking devices by closing a loophole in our laws. People under 21 are not permitted to purchase these harmful products, but nothing in the law bans them from possessing and using the devices. I also have introduced legislation to protect our children from those using social media and the internet to market this junk to our young people, along with other negative influences such as video games. In the area of education, I am pushing Governor Murphy to authorize an audit of the nearly $28 billion in state, federal, and local dollars spent each year on education in New Jersey. School costs are by far the largest drain on property taxes, particularly in our region, and we must end the duplication of services, expenses, and purchases so our children benefit from every dollar we spend on our schools. We need transparency and accountability, especially at the Schools Development Authority, which I want to put under the control of the Department of Treasury under legislation I introduced. This agency is supposed to be building schools in low-income districts, but it has wasted millions in tax dollars instead. These probes found that more than 30 tenured staffers were fired in the past 2 years and replaced by political cronies who were unqualified for their jobs and given salaries well above the levels of even executives in state government. This patronage hiring increased the authority's budget by $2 million, which the state can ill afford since the authority sticks taxpayers with $1 billion debt annually. My plan would make the SDA more accountable, bring salaries in line with other state offices, and force the SDA to use transparent line item budgeting. Also this year, well before the harmful algal blooms hit our lakes in New Jersey, I introduced measures to help Greenwood Lake and Lake Apacon get the funding necessary to address the state's neglect of our waterways. I will, yes. Okay. So, the list continues of the great Assemblywoman's accomplishments and service to you, again, people over party. New Jersey would certainly be problem-free if raising taxes offered real solutions. It doesn't, and this is where I will not join the majority of legislators in Trenton. Assemblywoman opposes this reckless spending, along with the 16 bills rammed through under Governor Murphy, and she will continue to be your voice in Trenton, your watchdog. So BettyLou thanks you for your support and for allowing me and her to speak on her behalf tonight and the opportunity to address you. Hope you all have a good evening. Enjoy listening to the speeches, and don't forget to remember to cast your vote for Assemblywoman DeCroce, November 5th. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Christina Clarke.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing tonight? Can you hear me? Because I'm not really a podium person. Thank you, Pat, for putting this together. I'm sorry, Doug, that I'm making you move your camera. Thank you to everybody who stepped up to public service and decided to run. Real quick before we get started, I want to congratulate Assemblyman Weber on the birth of his daughter tonight. That's amazing. We just celebrated the birth of my son yesterday. He's 4 now. But, you know, I know how precious it is to have that new little one, so I hope his family has a great time bonding together. And I want to thank my friend Anne-Marie Principe for joining me. She has been an instrumental figure in making sure that the Victims' Compensation Fund was passed at the federal level to make sure that we're doing right by our World Trade Center heroes. So thank you, Anne-Marie, for your service. My political director, who for some reason puts up with me. My name is Christine Clarke. I'm an environmental advocate, I'm a grassroots organizer, I'm a mother of 4, and I'm running for state assembly in the New Jersey's 26th district to advance clean energy jobs, protect clean air and water, improve our health care, and broadly legislate with empathy and fiscal responsibility. As someone who lives on a single income in a working family with 4 children, who at the beginning of the race were 15, 13, 5, and 3, and are now 15, 13, 6, and 4 as of yesterday, I know how hard it is to stretch a dollar. I know that you have a limited income, and that when your taxes raise or your healthcare bills go up, it squeezes the family in a way that is just unsustainable. You know, we've heard a lot tonight about how we can manage our tax dollars, and that's fantastic. But what we need to do is get some people down in Trenton who look at the way forward, who look at how we're going to generate more money. You know, in a household, people take a second job, they revise their resume, they look at mom going out to work, they try to figure out what they can do to make sure that expenses are met and people get by, and that's what we could be doing at the state level right now. This is something I work on anyway. I'm a trained climate reality leader. I'm an honorary advisor with the United Nations NGO Committee on Sustainable Development, and I'm with the Jersey Renews Coalition, which is an excellent exercise in bipartisanship and good governance. Because in that space, all 60 participating organizations, from the unions worried about their jobs and making sure that they can continue building pipelines, to the people calling for a fossil fuel moratorium, are equals in that space and all have a chair at the table and all have an opportunity to help write policy together. And that's what Trenton should look like. People working together in good faith, trying to protect our water and our air and our natural resources, our jobs and our people and our public health, and write the best policy we can to move this state forward. Having worked with the Business Network for Offshore Wind in that capacity, I've had the great opportunity to see where New Jersey is in our unique position to lead as we move forward into the renewable energy movement. Around the world, 10.5 million people are employed in solar, wind, and biofuels, and that's expected to grow to 28 million by 2050. Let's lead the pack. We have ideal conditions for offshore wind. We have the largest procurement out there. We're looking at 40,000 jobs in the currently leased areas alone. The Clean Energy Act, which our incumbents did not support last year, has generated over 32,000 jobs in its first year alone, and we have excellent conditions for solar as well. This can invite new families in to settle, this can build our tax base, this can generate millions in new revenue for our state. Remember, we were just talking about sustainable income? If we're not bringing more money in, we're looking at stretching dollars farther and farther. And while I too am a fiscal conservative, I also want to make sure that my children don't inherit a financial mess like our kids would if we don't start changing course and correcting course and where we're going. I'm also worried about our health care. See, I'm currently 42 years old and my daughter is 6, which was the conditions my aunt faced when she started having headaches one week, at a point when she couldn't fit insurance into her family budget. She was a small business owner, and the cost of procuring insurance was so much more than she could budget for that she would take care of her kids. She would take her kids to the doctor, but she didn't go for herself. She didn't get her teeth taken care of. She didn't make sure that she went when she had aches and pains. So she started having headaches one week and went to the doctor, and they gave her a narcotic painkiller and sent her home. And by the weekend, she was light sensitive, and we were putting washcloths on her head, and we were trying to help her out and take care of her. We were calling to find out what else we could do, and they said she needed a CAT scan. But due to the several $1,000 cost, she put off that test to Monday. She didn't make it to Monday. She died Saturday night in bed beside my 6-year-old cousin, who remembers when her mother's brain started hemorrhaging. And if she had gone to the hospital and had a test, a simple antibiotic would have saved her life. It was a dental or a sinus infection that traveled and took her life because of the costs of healthcare in this country. We need to do better. We need to do better by New Jersey's residents. We need to do better managing our money. We need to do better taking care of each other. And as someone who knows firsthand what it's like to have to make sure that we meet all of our bills, that we pull from savings, that we figure out a way to get by, I don't want to see more New Jersey's families struggle when we have such an opportunity right now to change the course of our state and to build the way forward into a sustainable future. My name is Christine Clarke. My website is clarkefораssembly.com. We're endorsed by a number of organizations, including being the first New Jersey candidate endorsed by Vote Mama PAC, which elects mothers of young women, young children rather, to public office. We're endorsed by the NJAE, and the AFT, the AFL-CIO, the nurses, the firefighters, and a number of other groups that know I will go down there just as I've been for the last few years as a volunteer advocate, fight for us all. I hope on November 5th to have your vote so that I can get that done for you. Thank you.
The next speaker is Laura Fortgang.
everybody. Thank you all for being here. It's great to be here and to represent. Christine, Clarke, and I are your two candidates for Assembly. See 4 on the ballot, you get to choose 2. I am from Verona, which is the Essex part of the 26th district. I've lived there for 25 years. I'm a mom to 3 public school educated kids. I am a small business owner. I'm a wife. I'm a 5-time author. I've gotten to be on the Oprah show. And if you Google my name, you'll find a TED Talk with over 1 million views. So I've had opportunities to speak to people from all over the place, but this past year has been all about the 26th district. And I'm running to be your assembly person because I can no longer be a bystander to the affordability crisis in New Jersey. I have a child with a pre-existing condition with uncovered medication at the tune of $1,000 per month. So I understand what it's like to live in New Jersey with everything that's going on, right? So here we are in a state that has drug companies that are on the verge of curing cancer, and we have people who can't afford their insulin. We are now the #1 ranked school system in the entire country. And yet we have districts going broke, and in Morris County we turn away 2/3 of the students who want to get into our fabulous VOTEC program. We are a state that has great jobs, great opportunities, and huge GDP coming through here, and yet we have a transportation system that's broken and archaic. So clearly we're not doing something right. We are not investing in the right places. And New Jersey is not moving forward. So I am running with a background of being a small business owner. I have worked for 25 years with individuals, small business owners, and large organizations like NASA, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the World Bank. And what those organizations ask me to help them do is to find the solutions they cannot find themselves. So I don't come in and tell them what to do. I come in and help them speak to each other and figure out the solution that might be right in front of them. So that, I think, would be very transferable to Trent. So people working together to move everybody forward. And that's what I want to do. My priorities, besides making New Jersey people the priority again, instead of sweetheart deals and handshake deals in our political world, is healthcare, education, and taxes, and I see them completely correlated with each other. When I knock on the doors, which I do to talk to voters, the #1 thing they tell me is their property taxes are too high. So that's where I want to focus the little bit of time that I have here with you tonight. If we look at our schools, some of the towns in the 26th district are taking on the burden of paying 93% of their school budgets from their tax dollars, their property tax dollars. If the school funding formula were properly funded, it should be in the 70% range. So we have work to do to get that formula equally distributed. Also, the healthcare costs for our schools and staff. Everybody needs to have healthcare, but we need to do a better job negotiating maybe in larger groups so that we can bring down that variable. Every year it's unpredictable and less gets spent on curriculum and more on our healthcare costs. Also, special needs is a huge concern for each municipality, and there's talk of bringing that under the state's umbrella of responsibility. That would be a huge relief to our municipalities. Let's talk about rebates. We used to have that homestead rebate. I'd like to get it back to the before Christie level of help for people. And also, veterans only get a $250, what do you want to even call it? Dinner out for 5. Off their taxes, and that's an old number. Clearly we need to do better and reevaluate that number and help those heroes get a break on their taxes. We have a lot of waste in New Jersey. No, if you're reading the newspapers and online, that's not news to you. We need to have transparency and accountability in any kind of breaks that we give to anybody, because we're not seeing it back where it belongs, which is in our communities. I want to talk very succinctly and especially about how we deal with small problems and overlook them until they become big problems. We talked about the lakes earlier. In 2012, our incumbents voted no to stormwater maintenance tax. Okay, I understand we want to keep taxes down, but when we don't vote for something like that, and then we're calling for $4 million to be the hero and rescue the lakes, this is a problem we could have avoided. So I will wrap up by saying my name, Fortgang, actually means moving forward. So I want to help find solutions that move everybody forward. Thank you for being here, and please vote for us on November 5th.
Okay, just make sure that everyone has signed my attendance sheet. I kind of like to keep a record of how many people were here. So if you haven't signed it, I'm going to leave it over here on the table, so please sign it. I especially want to thank all of the candidates who took time out of their busy schedules, because not only are they working people, then they are basically volunteers. When you think about the amount of time they put in political fields, most of them are volunteers. And I really want to thank them all for coming. It's been a wonderful evening. I thank you all. I thank you all for coming. If your friends and neighbors weren't here, let them know that YouTube will have the video so they can see the responses from the candidates. I thank everybody for the cooperation with the 5-minute time limit. I'm a stickler for that 5 minutes.
Thank you, Pat.
Good, thanks, Pat.